everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I want to show you how to paint these fabulous Baiana girls from Brazil. This is a really fun painting. It is for beginners. I'm going to explain every step of it. All of the materials, colors, and tools are in the description below. Just hit that more button. It'll open up all of that. And of course, on our website where the free traceable is for you, because if you don't draw, don't worry, we've got a traceable. Get your paint, get your brushes, get your traceable if you need it. Come back and meet me at the easel right now. We're going to paint the Baiana girls of Brazil. So guys, all the materials are listed in the description, but we're going to start out with some very particular tools. First, we've got our canvas out. This is a canvas panel artist board. It's a flat board with a textured surface. It's gessoed. It's ready to paint. You buy them in packs. But that said, yes, you can use stretch canvas just as easily. They're equally good, whatever your preference is. Over here, I have only put out the colors I'm going to begin the sky with. I have my titanium white, my phthalo blue, my phthalo green. This is called an artist knife or palette knife, and I'm going to use it to mix together these two colors of paint thoroughly. Now, let's take our brush. This is a brush for acrylic paint. It's called a braid. That means that the bristles are a little bit shorter than the flats. That makes it firmer. Firmer helps us with heavy body paint. I'm going to dip in and drag off extra water, and I'm going to come over to my white, and I'm going to pull out the paint into the brush. Very important, guys. Flip the brush. Pull out the paint into the brush. Flip the brush. Right? Now I'm going to get just a little of the turquoise on my brush by getting the corners. Can you see how that's barely any? I'm going to come across the bottom of my canvas, and I'm going to brush back and forth in long strokes, back and forth, and I am getting a very light color. Now, this time I'm going to load my white paint in, but I'm going to get a little more of my turquoise. But when I say a little, you can see how little I mean. And I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to go back and forth, long strokes, and it's getting a little bit darker as I go. I'm going to keep adding more color as I go up till it's the darkest up top. Dip. Let's load a little bit into our brush. There we go. Back and forth, pressing fairly firmly on the canvas, and I'm not letting my brush strokes go a bunch of crazy directions. I'm going back and forth. Where the paint is wet is where it blends. So if this is dry, it won't blend. I'm going to dip in water, get a little white onto my brush, and grab a little more of my turquoise. It can help to dip in water and pull a little more paint in. I'm going back and forth. Here I go, back and forth. Are you following along with me, doing exactly what I do? You can see I move back down, brush, 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 lightly when I come back to blend. Got to blend there now. Dip in the water, loading more paint into the brush. Grab a little white, but again, you want it to be slightly darker than the color below it. Back and forth, and then come down where that line is and blend it into the wet paint below it. I'm just using water and paint here. Now everything from this line up should be able to be just our pure phthalo turquoise. So I'm going to dip in the water, I'm going to flip over, and I'm going to load just like I did with the white. See how I'm doing? Making those little landing strips. And I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to make a nice seam. Coming back and forth. There we go. Back and forth. There you go. If at the top you need to get right back into the paint, you do that. Make sure you dip in water to improve the flow. Here we go. Back and forth. Now I'm going to pull the brush down. Again, long strokes. And that should give me a nice gradated sky. That looks pretty darn good. But we're going to add some clouds, and we're going to do that with our little nugget sea sponge. So these come in packs at most craft stores or any place that sells art or craft supplies. Sometimes they come with a round sponge. You want the ones that look like chicken nuggets with sort of the smaller bumps. I'm going to load my brush up. It's not really a brush, my sponge, right on the little edge of it right here. This is still mildly wet. I'm going to firmly pinch between my fingers, press into the canvas, and I'm going to just push up, kind of making little circles and come over. And what you're going to see is that the sponge almost blends and shades right there. Let's make a little spongy up, and then I'm going to go across. Oh, that's nice. That's not too bad. Grab a little more on the tip right here, and I can make that second little bank of clouds, and it's shading and going. Right? So just very softly blending with the sponge, coming along behind. I need to add a little bank there. That's pretty darn decent. Let's grab a little more onto our sponge, and let's make a little bank from the left coming right. Maybe this one's a little higher up, and I'm just circling and coming down. I'm trying to let the white paint come to the edge of the cloud here, and these are coming up and down. If I need to grab a little more white paint, I'll get it. Little circle, pressing that up, and then here I am. I can make that second little bank, can't I? Little bank, second little bank, and then you can always just blend right here. There we go. Those are some nice little banked clouds. Let's see if we can put a few more in. I'm going to get a little bit of the white right on the edge of my sponge there. Let's put a nice little bank right here. Just a big cumulus, and he's going to come around, and we'll just smooth that out, and maybe that comes back here, and you can see I'm pinching the sponge, and that's pushing the paint to the edge, and that white paint is what's giving us that cloud shape. Now I'm going to press my sponge back into my white. I'm going to make sure that this little part of the bank goes really up in layers, and let's make something in the center. So press in, get that paint, as you can see, lift right there, and let's make another little bank into this cloud. And you can always just softly shade it over here. Right, there you go, little cloud shading. It's the good kind of shade, the shade you don't mind having in your life. But you can see how pinching the sponge and letting the white paint make those highlights does so much of that cloud work for you and gets you thinking in a cloudy state of mind. Now for the next step, we have to have the canvas completely dry. I'm going to dry mine with a hair dryer, but remember to keep the heat setting low because some acrylic paints are affected by heat, and they do something called color shift with an extreme bias to darken. All acrylic paint should color shifts, but an economic paint will color shift a lot. So keep that temperature low. All right, meet you back here. So I'm going to show you how to use our traceable feature from our website. You just go to our website, you just grab them, download the PDF for free. How to take those images and get those onto the canvas. And no, tracing is definitely not cheating. Drawing is a skill, painting is a skill, and you don't necessarily learn those skills in a particular order. So just use the traceable for now, but if you're ready to freehand them in, go ahead. Let me show you how I get them in. I'm going to take the central girl because she's the closest to us, and I'm going to put her on my canvas first. I'm going to take her and move her just up from the bottom, right? And she's going to be like reaching up into the sky, and I have to think about where my clouds are and everything when I place her because they're going to be peeking out from her. So once I have her in, I'm using washi tape, which is a low tack tape, to hold her down, and I might tape her a couple of places. Once I have her taped in, I'm going to trace over all her lines. Okay. So when you have your main figure on, Then you're going to put your other figures in. And by her being there, you kind of know where you don't need to necessarily trace. So I'm going to put her a little bit above her friend and over slightly to the right. All right, now the last one. I'm going to use my washi tape again. I just wanted them to feel a little bit staggered, like they were walking together. So I will use this, and there's two positions, one with the arm going off or one with the arm up close, and that is just to your preference. I'm going to do the arm going off. All right, now that we have our figures where we want them to on the canvas, let's start blocking in the rest of our painting. And what I mean by that is I'm going to do darker fields of color where I know I'm going to be layering and putting those colors in a specific order so that they come out the best way they can on your canvas at home. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this just regular old bright. This is a number 8 Cambridge bright. This is a mix of bristle and natural filaments. I'm going to get it wet, drag off a little extra water, and I'm going to load some of my burnt umber into my phthalo green. See, I'm pulling out, flipping, pulling, flipping, coming right here. And just underneath where our ladies are, our ladies are dancing and having their moment, paint all of this dark green. All right. And then let's take a little of our ultramarine, just a little of that. And here's a little power move. You can add a smidge of quinacridone to it to help darken it. And I'm going to come right here and paint all of her dress and skirt with this dark blue. Come around this figure here neatly. But I am going to try to pull my brush stroke, as you can see, kind of in the direction that the skirt would be. Get a little of that if I need to darken it, just a small amount. There we go. Now I'm pulling that brush stroke down so you can see the directionality. It's like a skirt being pulled down. All of her shirt. I'm here dipping the water to improve flow. I'm loading the brush, flip, load, load, load. So at home, your paint will be a little bit streaky. You should see the brush strokes in it. A lot of times people who are new to painting with acrylic or have only worked with fluid acrylics expect it to be completely smooth, but for this type of paint, for heavy body paint, you're going to see some brush strokes. That is as expected. Now, I'm also going to bring this blue up to her scarf. So she has her head entirely wrapped in a gorgeous, gorgeous scarf. And I'm going to definitely want that to be part of her traditional costume, traditional dress. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to make where I had little bits of fluffy scarf. I'm going to take my little brush, I'm going to wiggle it just a little bit to make this light area. Painting this over, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to rinse that out. Put that to the side, and I'm going to get another clean brush because that sometimes helps me go faster. So same size, another number 8, and I'm going to come get the yellow. And I'm going to do the yellow by starting with a little bit of my yellow ochre in a smidge of my burnt umber. This is a kind of transparent color, So you may want to expect that. See how here it's showing through on a lot of my painting? That is okay. That is what I expect to happen. I'm going to just brush that all in, paying attention to the direction that the shirt would flow and that the skirt would flow, helping them be just beautiful and their personality just shine through all around the dress. There we go, the scoop neck, and now I'm going to add the sleeves. There you go. Rinse out. Now for her shirt, I'm going to do a light gray. So let me put out a small amount of my carbon black. All these colors are listed in the description below. But just to go over them again, I have ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, burnt umber, alizarin crimson, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta, cad yellow, phthalo green, phthalo blue. I have, this is, where did I just put that black? I'll tell you the exact one. This is carbon black, but you could use mar black, and this is titanium white. So any of that will work. Now I'm going to get a little of this white out and a smidge of this black. And I'm making this sort of off-white. And this is going to cover probably the best out of all of my colors. That's because titanium white just has a lot of pigment in it in general. And this is a particularly good titanium white. So you'll get nice coverage with it. You won't have to work for it very hard. Bringing my little skirt down. The shirt comes over the big full skirt. So I wanted to make it feel like these friends were coming back from like a party and they'd had like a really good time. Do that there. Now her headdress, I think I'm gonna have go ahead and be a base of white, interestingly enough. And then the top is where I'm gonna have the tie be, so it's gonna go maybe more full. See, I'm just tapping and smudging, tap, 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 tap. And it's like kind of a crazy shape, but I'm going with that because she's done that. And now that I'm looking, I'm thinking I definitely want to have that be yellow too. So I'm going to come back over to my yellow ochre, and this time I'll get a little of my titanium white just to lighten this a smidge, and I'm going to come right here. And her tie is more facing her friends, so you can kind of see there's like a little story there. And I'll go ahead and take this minute to do a second coat on my yellow ochre. So that's where I had the smidge of the white and the yellow ochre brushed into my brush, load, 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 flip, load, load, and just brush down shirt a little bit. So that's a little bit lighter than the skirt. And then I'm going to come get a lot more ochre, and I'm going to just make sure that this has got that next coat. So yellow ochre is a natural color and it can be very transparent. So your ochre being transparent isn't a flaw of the product, it's a property of it. Sometimes with new students, they'll be like, my yellow is see-through. Some of the yellows are very see-through. It is their nature, ochre especially. I've got all of that worked in, and that's going to take that next color. I'm going to rinse, rinse, rinse. Let's make her skirt red. How I'm going to do hers, and I kind of went a little crazy with the reds, but I'm going to be really glad I did. I'm going to take my alizarin and my cad. I'm going to kind of mix them together, and I'm going to paint this beautiful full skirt all of that color. Along the white shirt, Maybe make a second little lip on that skirt. You can kind of see how I came down, stroked out, and pulled back. They're going to have a lovely bit of grass around them, but I really, really wanted for them to be the flowers in the painting. You imagine that they're besties, and they've been getting together just outside of Brazil for years with good food and great music and wearing their favorite clothes. I kind of understand this from my own weird little perspective because I've done LARPing and medieval reenactment. So I kind of understand the ideas behind historical dress, even if it's from a different perspective. I have great respect. So this is just that. So that's all in. We're going to let that all have a rest and a dry. And we're going to paint their skin in now. And I'm going to get a smaller, more controlled brush. I'm going to get this nice number 2 Bright by Ruby Satin. It's just a smaller brush. And I'm going to pull out a little of my brown. Okay. Pull that out a little bit. And get just a smidge of your black. Not just all black. Right? Just a smidge of your black. And I'm going to paint in their arms and necks. Now, it may take, brown again tends to be transparent. So I have an experience where often I need to be very delicate around the finger. Make a nice little thumb here to have this look right. All right, there's the neck. Come up and do our other arm. Load up a little more paint here. So I probably have to do 2 coats of this plus my highlight. That's okay. All right, here we go. And you can see a lot of the background through there, so you can see why we're going to want to make sure that we've got our 2 coats. At this stage, your painting should be kind of a hot mess. And that's really because the paint is streaky and you need the next 2 layers to really pull it all together. I'm going to dry my figures with my hairdryer so I can get my next coat on and have it really cover. Let's do that together just real fast. Remember to paint neatly and calmly and breathe often. So we're going to do the second coat right now across all of them. So we're going to let their skin dry for a second before we come and do the highlight on there. And while we're waiting for that, I think it might be nice to go ahead and put a couple birds in, flying off in the distance. So I'm going to grab a detail round. This is a number 1 round. It's small and it's made for painting small objects. And I'm going to go ahead and get some of my black paint and I'm going to just swirl this around on my brush. And I'm going to come up here into the clouds and I'm going to paint a little bird. I'm going to paint a little bit kind of a little seed body here. And I might paint a little wing coming up and one coming over. It's always fascinating to me to paint little birds as they are flying by because they're just fascinating little creatures and they come in these lovely little flocks. I'm going to do some of those ones that you think of with the little V wings and they're shooting off from each other. Just a few of these little birds. Maybe this one will have like that bent over wing that's in mid stroke of flying. A little body coming out. And another little bent over wing. There we go. So see, there's just a little group of birds. Far off ones if they're small. So when they're really small, they're farther away. And when they're bigger, they're closer. I'm going to just make one more over here, I think. All right. Little distant bird flying off into the sky. So this is all fairly dry now, and it's going to be easy to get our next coats on. Let's get those on in. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So for the next part, I'm going to take a little of my ultramarine and a little of my phthalo, and I'm going to mix those together, and I'm going to get some white. And I don't want it to be like a sky cloudy blue, but I am going to want it to be slightly lighter. And I'm going to come paint this upper shirt. This great color. So again, lightened, but not light. Let's make sure that our little sleeve is playful. I'm also going to want to make sure that up here I've got some nice wrap. I'm going to stroke the direction that the scarf would be wrapped to help imply that. And I'm also going to get a little more white on there. And I'm going to just tap some of that out over what I already have. Maybe bring that back to help start define the scarf. Maybe a little bit of that right here. The shoulder, pulling that lighter color down. I'm going to work a little of it through my brush. I'll just add some highlights to the fabric a couple of places. Right here at the hips. Just to show our dress is a little popped out. Isn't that nice? Now I'm going to go ahead and get a little more of my ultramarine. I'm going to put that second coat very carefully right here. Brushing this down. Just having some fun. Now I'm going to rinse out my brush. And I'm going to go ahead and get some of my phthalo blue on here and some white. I'm going to bring a stroke down. Start talking about this little fabric fold here and reflection. A couple more strokes down. Maybe a little bit right there. The outer edge, but not too much. And let's pull this down, kind of sweeping that fold that way. Let's see how our fold is looking. That looks pretty good. A little more highlight right here. I'm going to make a little V. Talk about the swish there. A little one here. Just let that be. A little bit more of that. Right here. A few more here and there. Just little kisses of it. Right at the shoulder. A little bit there. Now up here, rinse out. And get a little more of my phthalo. A little more white. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to just make sure that the back of the scarf is dark. I'm going to get some white on here. And just brush those little ties around. There's the little bun of scarf right there that she's dancing with. Now, while you're at this, go ahead and grab your little brush. And we're going to get a little of our magenta, and you can get some of your ultramarine, your white into this. And then we're going to come right here and make a little wiggly little line right there on her wonderful headdress. Come around with a tie. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to take a little of my black. I'm going to come right across here on my belt. There you go. And I like this color so much. I'm going to grab a little bit of my magenta and my white. I'm going to come in, tip this little sleeve. I'm going to do the same right here. Just wiggling this brush along the edge. This would be like the lace. I'm going to line the neck with a little pink. I'm going to go ahead and make sure there's a little bit of that at that edge right there. I think that that just creates a lovely little drama that's super enjoyable. And while I'm here, I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt umber and my yellow ochre. And I'm going to come around the outside of her arm. And I'm going to highlight maybe her fingers a little bit and her hand a little bit. Right here on the neck. You can go ahead on the top of the arm. A little bit of highlight. You can always blend this in with your burnt umber. And come along right here along the fingers. Just make sure everything looks very, very nice. Now, two last little things with the details. So I'm going to take my little detail brush. And first, I'm going to come right here. I'm going to give her a little bit of hair. I'm just curling this. It has escaped. Hair wants to do after we've been having a good time. And I may also go ahead and take a little bit of my magenta and my white. Make a little bit of a loop. I feel like she would be like so fashionable as to have some matching little hoop earrings. All right. I think she looks really good. While I've got you here, I'll go ahead and load my little detail brush up with a little bit of my yellow ochre. I'm going to come along and just make sure that I do a bright highlight on the top of the fingers. A little bit down the back of this arm. Maybe like a little bit here again. You know, she's looking fabulous. All right, I'm ready to work on my girl in the center here. So let's go ahead. I might get a smaller little scrubbity brush. We'll have to see how we go. But first, let's get our skirt in. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. So I'm going to take initially my alizarin. And I'm going to pull a direction from this upper left kind of down through the skirt as if there's a twist and a twirl. Like maybe this was like she was having a twirl away moment. Mm. She was like feeling it. All right, here we go. Here we go. There we go. Just pulling those directionally that way. And then, you know, as I come to this side, I can start pulling them down. And you can see that that extra layer is getting you that great coverage. So here we go. We're just pulling this down. I'm going to get some of my Cad red right on here. I'm going to come around the outside of this and I'm going to just very lightly, you can see how that orange red just plays against the dark red. Coming around, and sometimes it's nice even to like magenta it up too. I'm going to get some magenta in there. Creates kind of a really wonderful color. You can do one alone or both. I'm going to just bring that down. We're just letting our skirt twirl and flow. Let your skirt twirl and flow. All right. Brushing the bottom, brushing around. You see there's a lot of movement here. Bring a little bit of this red right here on the edge of this. Or show that movement. Remember, we've got grass coming up over our skirts later, so you don't have to get panicky about these edges. And you just want to make sure that you're super happy with the color that you've got going. Now I might get a little bit of my yellow into that mix. Just catch like a little highlight here and there to play with the motion. Get a bit of that Mockingjay Girl on Fire, a little fire dress going here, but I really like it and I like the movement of it, so I'm going to like let that be. I'm going to rinse this out really, really well. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of my white out, just a smidge of my ochre. I mean, just a smidge. It's kind of like an off-white, like a parchment. It'll play really lovely against the cool gray. I'm going to go ahead and just brush down. And come back up, finish that edge. Make sure I've got all the paint out of my brush. Mostly because I had a lot of red in it, not because there was white. Again, smidge of the ochre to an off-white, like parchment paper. All right, there we go on the sleeve. I'm going to come across her back like this. And again, pull back for sleeve. And then you can even get some pure white. I'm going to just pop some at the front of the sleeve. And maybe some of the nice white just coming across the back like this, up here, and a little bit of spots around there. Oh, that's looking so nice. Rinse out. Now, she has a similar magenta thing going up on her head, but I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow into it. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to just wiggle it. I'm wiggling these beautiful little edges of the scarf. And there's a twist right here. And you can see some of the magenta in the twist, which I rather like. And let's give her a little magenta red belt. I'm gonna grab my brush. I'm gonna just come across here because I think that'll be really pretty. I like that a lot. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get some of my parchment white. I'm gonna just tap this into here. Bring that there and come around here. Just making sure. Find that right there. Now I'll get a little of my magenta. Some of that wrap will come around there. Well, that's looking pretty nice, like she's got a flower on her head. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some just white. And just make sure I have some pops of it against the space. And while all that's dry, I'm gonna go ahead and work on her skin tone. So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna just do some burnt umber. Just the burnt umber again at first. Right here at her neck. And you can see now she's getting a really rich skin tone. And I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure. Now I'm lightening the inside of her arms, and anywhere I feel like there's sunlight, I'm gonna grab a little of my ochre. And I'm gonna come on the inside of her arm and blend that in. Maybe a little bit here on the fingers. A little too much ochre. Just making sure. She feels like she's dancing in sunlight. Right here. Now just at the top. And then I'm just going to go right back in again to my burnt umber. Just blend these two. Isn't that nice? It's just really pretty. All right, again here at the neck. I think like a little light right here. A little more of my burnt. Down by the shirt. She's looking awful pretty. Now you can always come in with your detail brush. I'll show you a little trick. I'll get a little bit of my black on here and I'll come underneath the finger. Just making sure that these hands are a little more defined. You can see that these women are delicate and beautiful. They're lovely little dancer hands. Just making sure that she's popping. Against her little background. And we're almost like through all of our girls. So hopefully you have women in your life that this trio reminds you of. That's why I did the traceables as separate ones so that you could mix and match for your own group of friends. Make this your own. You can see I'm just getting that nice fine line, and that's just really helping them feel very, very defined. And I feel like I would like her to have maybe a little bit of hair and tear as well. All right, our last girl here. We might as well catch her while we're at it. So I'm gonna get a little bit of my burnt umber and just make sure I've got the sunlight showing. So her arms are much more in shadow and need much less shading. So you can go ahead and probably just be with the burnt umber on this. Let's give her a really fabulous wrap. Now on hers, I want to show like that there's like a ponytail or there's an opening here. But first I've got to paint in some of my yellow. So I'm going to come in with a mix of my cad and my yellow ochre together. My cad yellow and my yellow ochre. And I'm going to just pull that color this way. And then there's another wrap coming at a triangle here. If you've done a headscarf, this is probably very easy for you to know how it would be. If you haven't ever done a headscarf, it's probably like what it was for me, which I had to really look at how everyone's personality was expressed in their different wraps. I'm going to come right here with my little yellow. I like that quite a lot. Now I'm going to get some white into this, into my cad yellow. I'm going to come right here on the edge with this bright pop. You can see I'm just wiggling my brush. Now I'm going to brush in these scarves. This is fun. All right, we'll let that dry because I want to show the ponytail. Now her top dress, her top shirt, I'll just grab a clean brush. Her top shirt is a lighter yellow, and so to get that, I'm going to get my yellow ochre and my cad yellow together, but I'm going to add some white to it, and it's going to make it a little bit lighter, but still distinctly yellow. And I'm going to come here. I'm going to tap in this little sleeve right here under the neck. I may need to get my brush more tidy. My brush was sort of crazy messy. Just making sure a little sleeve is blowing. Bring this down. I don't know. I'm curious as to what color dress is your favorite. Which girl reminds me of you? Which girl reminds you of your friends? You know, do you see yourself in this painting? When you paint it, what are you painting it about? There we go. That's a nice little yellowish top, and I'll pop that even more in a second. But I'm going to come right underneath, and I'm going to just take my ochre. This time I get real strong. I'll grab all of that. There we go. I know that I've got lots of grass down here. Now I'm going to get into my yellow. I'm going to just come right over the top, blend that right in. Bright little yellow that's coming down. Get my yellow. And I'm going to get some of my white right here. Right at the top of that sleeve, maybe the shoulder. I'll come across here, up, big shirt, showing these little highlights of yellow and white. See how we're just doing a light brush, and we're using the directionality of the brush stroke to show the folds of our garment. Get a little bit more going. There we go. A little bit here, a little bit everywhere. I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow and white on a couple places on this skirt. Not everywhere, just a little bit. Just to show some of the movement. Let's see how she's doing. Oh, she just looks like a sunflower. I love this. All right. Now I have all this in and I'm seeing her. I definitely want to make some adjustments. So I'm going to take my little detail brush. I'm going to come right here. Make sure that her sleeve nicely finished. This is my number 2 bright again. Just making sure she's as finished as she needs to be. Right. I'm going to get a little what's left of my ochre. Maybe just like right here. A little bit of that subtlety with my burnt umber. I like that, I like that. I'm going to go ahead and give her a little black belt. Can't help that. That's just too cute. And now let's do a little ponytail. It was all gathered. I'm just making sure we're just all right. Then with water, so I come here and I go swirl, 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 and I roll and I load to the tip. And I'm going to make sure that and you can bring a little bit down here as well. Little escaping tendrils. I'm going to give a little line there and maybe right along this dress just to make sure she's popping as much as her friends. I'm lining some of her headdress so it has a little feel of the black and yellow to it. I think it'll look really lovely there. This is just really fun. Let me fix that right there. I drug a little bit of my wet white paint across, but that's not going to be a problem. It's going to grab my black. Now I'm going to grab my burnt umber, I think. Just paint that out. And I'll come back and put my little white tendril back on and make sure I don't drag any more paint across my canvas. Now all I have to do is have some fun putting in a little bit of grass. And that actually is going to go in really easily. I'm going to get my number 8 bright. I'm going to pull out some of my phthalo green and I'll get some of my burnt umber. And I'm going to just, at first, bring up a little row of this dark color. I'm on the edge of my brush. And I stroke up and then I might curve to the right and sometimes I might curve to the left. Some is shorter, some is taller. And that's going to help this feel like the grass that these ladies are all dancing through on the way home. And maybe in your mind, it's on the way to the party. Maybe for your painting, it's on the way to. For me, it was on the way home after an amazing day. All right, now once you have that first layer of grass in, I'm going to get a slightly smaller brush. I'll go ahead and take advantage of having my number 4 out. And I'm going to start with the highlights. I'm going to take my phthalo green and my cad yellow. And I'm going to come to the tops of the grasses with that mixture and brush a little highlight. There we go. See how we're doing? A little highlight. I'm going to make sure that there's levels and depth so it feels like grass that the women are moving through. This isn't the lightest color I'm going to use either. I'm just wanting to show the motion in the movement that they currently have going on. One last layer to help it pop. I'm going to get a little white into that green mix. So I've added a lot of yellow, a little bit of green, and some white. I'm going to just catch some of the rose, some of the movement. You're having some fun. You didn't even know painting could be this fun. Remember, yours is not supposed to look exactly like mine or your friends or any other artist out there. You're supposed to be working on these little skills, making memories, and enjoying your creative time. I'm making a nice lighter bit here for right over this yellow dress so we don't lose that. Once that's all in and you're happy with your design and you feel like you've done everything that you want to do with that, then you can go ahead and give that a signature. That's how you paint these incredible sisters, and they're out having fun, and I hope you had fun doing it. I really enjoy doing these requests for you guys. I so appreciated our poll and all of your ideas. That really inspired me. I hope you're inspired now by me to paint this. Put this out on social media. Let me know you did it. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Live your life to the fullest. And I want to see you at the easel really soon.